If you are wondering why you're not making as much money as other creatives and you're not putting time into your DMs, this is the answer. It is in the DMs, I promise. Welcome back to On the Horizon. This is MelRose Michaels. I am your host, and I'm here to share what's worked for me in building my adult creator business to try to make building yours just a little bit easier. Let's get into today's episode. You could be the hottest creator online. You could have the best lighting and the juiciest content and the most loyal fans, but if your captions suck, your bank account likely will too. Because in this business, words do sell. Your captions, your locked PPV DMs, your promo posts, all of it, that's your sales floor. That is where you either create desire or you get ignored. And if you've ever wondered why someone with less experience or less content is earning more than you are, there is a good chance that they've mastered something you haven't yet. Whether that's copywriting or thumbnail art or the art of the trailer or any of these other variables in between. Now, we've done episodes and spaces on a lot of these topics, but today I want to go all in on the art of seductive copywriting. So I'm going to teach you kind of how to write like a temptress, sell like a strategist, and then turn casual followers into addicted buyers, just by choosing the right words. And above all else, yes, I am going to shamelessly plug GPTEASE AI and explain how you can do all of it with the AI product and tool that we've built for you. But before we get into all that, I want to kind of discuss why copywriting is the real undressing or the unwrapping to your adult creator business. So I think a lot of creators don't take time to think through the reality that our text or the words that we put out in the world, whether that's on socials or whether that's in our bio, on our profile, on OnlyFans or another fan site or clip store, the first thing your fans come across of yours is typically the text. Like it's the writing that's in your bio that describes what they're going to see once they subscribe, or it's the description on your video when they're reading through your clip description on a clip store, deciding if they want to purchase your clip. A lot of the text does the heavy lifting for your adult creator business. However, it gets none of the credit. It gets none of the sexy praise that it deserves because as adult creators, we focus so much on the visual aspect of our art. We often completely neglect the text or the language we use. So what I want to start with is the reality that seduction doesn't start with your body or your content. It really does start with your words. So the best creators, they don't just sell content, they sell a fantasy, right? An experience. And the fantasy, it lives in people's minds, not just on a feed or in a post. So I think the first thing that it's important to talk about is really the psychology. And I try to work in sales psychology or psychology, human psychology, behavioral psychology in every part of my business. One, because it's something that I've spent a lot of time studying and reading about, and it's actually something I take a lot of interest in. But I've also really reaped the rewards in my businesses because of how I implement psychology. So words can do two different things. The first thing they can do is they can create curiosity. The second thing they can do is that they can create emotion. So when your captions spark curiosity or they spark an emotion, your audience doesn't just want to see you. They want to feel something from you. And I know that sounds like hippy dippy and everyone's like, what does that mean? I know, I'm listening. I am you. I want the tactical, the practical. So just bear with me. But when people buy, they don't often buy what they're just shown. They buy what they're feeling. So whether that's a thumbnail that you show to them that invokes a feeling, whether that's text caption that is included with a PPV that invokes a feeling, you're actually able to leverage this in a lot of different ways. So your copywriting or your captions or your text on something, it should be treated like foreplay because that is exactly what it is. It should tease just enough to make them lean in, but leave enough mystery to kind of make them want to pay to find out. So later in this episode, I'm going to give you my exact 3-step framework to writing seductive captions that convert. So just make sure to bear with me because, like I said, I love the tactical, the practical, the tangible, and I'm going to give that to you, I promise. So the sales psychology behind seductive writing, right? To write like a seductress, you have to kind of understand what makes people want something, desire something, not just look, not just like, but actually buy. And there are psychological triggers that your copy needs to activate. And I kind of consider them as a threefold thing, right? So the first trigger is desire. The second trigger is curiosity. The third trigger is identity. So what does this mean? So for desire, you want to speak to what your customer or follower or fan or subscriber, call them whatever you want. I like to frame them as a customer because I think this helps adult creators really envision and understand their business in terms of a business and not just an influencer or a creator. So when you are talking to your customer, you are talking to what they want, not just what you are doing. So instead of a caption that says, new video just dropped, you would say something like, you ever get that craving that just won't go away until you handle it? Yeah, that. So you're speaking to what they want. They want to feel a craving. They want to be turned on by you. They want arousal, right? So one of those two captions will dramatically outperform the other. I'm sure you can guess which one it is. You probably felt the visceral reaction while just listening to it. New video just dropped. Probably doesn't give you much. But when I say, do you ever get that craving that just won't go away until you handle it? You can relate to me. You feel something. You are either aroused or interested, or I've gotten your curiosity, which leads me to the next part. The second trigger is curiosity. You want to leave something out, right? You don't want to say everything. Curiosity creates clicks. So think about it this way. Something you can say that sparks curiosity is, I wasn't planning on filming this, but once I got started, I couldn't stop. This makes you really curious to see what I'm talking about because first off, I said I wasn't planning on filming this. Well, what is this? What are you filming? I don't know. I need to know more. And then I said, once I got started, I couldn't stop. Once you got started, what? What couldn't you stop? I want to know. So in one sentence, I've used and leveraged curiosity 3 times. And that is going to entice a buying behavior. Another one you could do, for example, is I told myself I would behave today. That didn't last. So again, this is relatable, but it sparks curiosity because I told myself I'd behave today. That implies I'm not behaving or I'm misbehaving. So now the reader or listener to that caption is super curious. Like, how are you not behaving? What do you mean you're not behaving today? And then saying that didn't last, that means that something has taken place. Well, what has taken place? What did you do to misbehave? Now you're curious, right? So now this third trigger is identity. And I've already said this in the last 2 examples, but you want to make them feel seen, either desired or powerful, or just you want to say something that they're going to relate to. So when a post speaks to your customer, your fan, your subscriber, your follower, that's when they're going to engage with it. So I want you to take a second and think of yourself in terms of a consumer of media, consumer of content, being a creator, but you're scrolling Twitter, right? You're scrolling Twitter, which is actively consuming content, media, etc. But when you're scrolling Twitter, you are scrolling your timeline and maybe you come across something that resonates with you, right? Maybe a fellow performer complains about something that you're currently struggling with and you feel seen. So you retweet or you like or you comment on it. Maybe it's like a quote graphic that you relate to, right? You feel seen. So you retweet or you like it or you comment. So if you're wondering why engagement is low, it could be your copywriting. You yourself are exhibiting these same behaviors. Us as creators or influencers or business people, we are not immune to sales psychology, to human psychology. In fact, salespeople are typically the people that get sold the quickest, which is an interesting fact. But I want to make this point because you also engage in these behaviors. So this should give you confidence when you are writing copy that, I guess leverages these core things and these core triggers. This is going to give you the confidence to know that they work, right? So desire, talk to what they want, not what you're doing. Curiosity, leave something out. Don't say everything. Curiosity creates clicks. And then identity, you want to make people feel seen and you want to say something that they'll relate to.
If you're enjoying this podcast episode so far, please take one moment to share it with another one of your adult content creator friends, because you know what the rule is here. We do not gatekeep, and we want to make as many adult creators' businesses as easy as possible. And you sharing this episode with them might do exactly that. Thanks so much in advance.
So, for example, another thing you can do that I really love, this is kind of the pro tip portion of the show, is this caption, right? So, you're the kind of man who doesn't just scroll past, you take action. So copy like this speaks to the fan in a different way. It speaks to the fan by assigning them a label that they'll feel they want to live up to or identify with. So remember, I just said make them feel seen, make them feel desired or powerful or something they'll relate to. You can also make them feel seen by giving them something to identify with. You're the kind of man who doesn't just scroll past, you take action. Copy like that assigns them the label that they are that kind of man. They are someone who takes action, meaning that they will be more likely to behave in accordance with that label that you assign them or that label that they want to identify with. So if you label, and this is what I see more often than not with creators and people in our industry, is that they label someone a freeloader and they say to them that they're a freeloader, and not only are the fan or customer offended usually, but they will also then act in accordance with that label. So the labels we assign, the identities we lead people with, or we lead them to identify with, those things have power. They have sales and behavioral psychology built in. So powerful copy that works is also copy that they can relate to and identify with. And sometimes you can set those labels up for them to encourage the behavior that you want. Now, I promised you a 3-step framework for writing captions that convert. So that is what I want to move into now. So I teased this earlier, a simple and seductive framework that you can absolutely use on every single post. So step 1, hook the mind. We hear about hooks all the time, especially now in the social media era with short form content, etc. But your hook is always your opening line, right? It stops them from scrolling. It disrupts the pattern. Hooks can also be visual. You should be starting your content or your trailers with a visual hook. You should be starting your short form content on social with a visual hook. But you should also have a verbal hook. Whatever you're saying should hook and capture attention. And also the caption or the PPV locked post caption or the caption on your feed should also start with a hook. It should stop them from scrolling and it should disrupt the pattern. So a great hook can be a question. Think you could last 2 minutes with me? That's a great hook. It could also be a confession. So I wasn't going to post this. That's a strong hook. And it can also be a boundary push, not in terms of your fan or yourself, but it could be something like, Instagram better not delete me for posting this one, or OnlyFans better not flag me for posting this one. So it can seem like you're pushing a boundary, even if you're not. You should definitely play inside terms and services, don't get me wrong, but you can market it or caption it as if it's a boundary push. So a question, a confession, or a boundary push. And a nice rule is that your first line of your copy should have curiosity, confusion, or connection. So those are the kind of the 3 C's, an easy way to remember what to include in your hook. Curiosity, a question. Confusion, which is a boundary push or a confession or connection, making them feel seen. So that's step 1. You want that hook. Step 2 is that you want to touch an emotion. So this is where you seduce, right? This is where you make them feel something, whether that's arousal, where you challenge them, where you ignite mischief or dominance or vulnerability or just some sort of feeling. Examples of touching on emotion might be, this wasn't supposed to turn me on as much as it did. That makes the reader feel arousal. We just plugged in the thought of being turned on, right? We just triggered that arousal feeling. Another example of this is, you've been good lately, deserve a reward. This makes the reader feel desire. We mentioned a reward, which makes them think in their brain, and the thought is then implanted in their head that you are desiring a reward. You have been good lately. Now, a third example of this might be, I want you to know how wet I got filming this. This makes the reader feel even more curiosity. They want to now see what you've described. They want to know how wet you got. So you want to use that emotionally loaded language, and you want to be playful, and you want to be specific. You want to touch on emotion. That's step 2. Now, step 3 is that you want to lead the action. I can't tell you how many times we have talked about calls to action in all of the content and resources we put out, but I still see very few of you doing it. So I'm going to, harp on this again. So step 3, lead the action. So this is where you actually convert. You tell them what to do next. So DM me if you want to see what happened next. Tip this post if it's making you squirm. Click the link, you've earned it. These are like great, strong copywriting or captions or PPV lock text or whatever that's going to lead them to the action. You want to use call to actions. And the reason is because if you don't directly tell the reader, the customer, the follower, subscriber, whatever, what to do, you can't reasonably expect them to do it. So you don't need to be afraid to be bold here. I know so many creators and adult performers are so hesitant to write DM me to XYZ or tip this post to XYZ or click this thing. I don't know why we're afraid of that. Just take 7 days to not be afraid of it and put it out there and watch what happens. These are time-tested, business agnostic, works in any vertical, in any realm, in any business. Don't be afraid to be bold. People want to be led, and seduction requires direction. So use the call to actions, lead with action. Now, this next part, so this is the DMs, the PPV messages, this is the power of personalization, right? So I want to talk about the place where most adult creators, especially the smaller ones, earning, somewhere around the $1,000 a month to $5,000 a month mark, this is where you're leaving money on the table. It is in the DMs. I know this just based on having the relationships with all the agencies in the industry. I can tell you where the money gets made as it relates to fan sites. It is in the DMs. I promise. If you're not doing DMs, I don't know how else to convince you. That's where everyone is making the money. I know it's time intensive. It might not be the business model of your choice, and that's okay if that's your choice. But if you are wondering why you're not making as much money as other creatives and you're not putting time into your DMs, this is the answer. I'm giving you the answer. So DMs aren't just messages. They're literally a private sales floor. And it's a place where you can sell stuff at varying prices depending on the buyer's buying power. So you can sell something to one fan for one price and you can sell it to another fan for another. You have that flexibility inside a DM, which is what makes them so crazy, wildly powerful, and why so many creators leave money on the table. So now when you're writing PPVs, right, or you're responding to fans, you don't want to say or use copy that says, want to buy my new video. It's not seductive. It's not persuasive. So instead, say, I thought about you while filming this. It's rough, it's messy, and if anyone deserves a first look, it's you. Do you understand or see the difference? This is just one example, but you can tell that it feels personal. I thought about you while filming this. It speaks to them. If anyone deserves a first look, it's you. It makes the message feel like a gift, and it doesn't make it feel like a pitch, like a sales pitch, right? So seductive DMs equal, or when I say the word seductive DMs, I want you to think about using specific references to past tips or behavior that this fan has exhibited. So this is kind of why I'm always telling you guys to keep notes on all of your fans, because you want to reference the past things you've talked about with this fan. It will leverage and convert so much better. Use language that feels custom and not canned. So you want to be really specific and contextually relevant to the person you're speaking to specifically. And you should be spending most of your time on one-on-one DMs, not scheduling out zillions of mass messages. If your DM behavior as an adult creator consists of scheduling mass messages of PPV unlock content and you wonder why it doesn't work, that is why. It's because you're sending out things as mass messages. They feel like spam. They accumulate in DMs and they just sit there being unlocked and unopened. The fans know they're going to everyone. The fans don't feel special or seen or, valued at all. But when you take the time to chat with fans, get to know fans, build a relationship with fans, keep really good notes on fans, and then you can caption a locked PPV message to one fan specifically that leverages all of that information and relationship building by making a caption that says, I know you wear a uniform to work, so I figured you would enjoy seeing me in uniform. Okay, well, you knew that because you kept really good notes. You leveraged something specific to them. That fan is going to feel like this locked message in PPV is only for them, and it will be. And then it will convert that much higher. The other part of this is promos that feel like privileges, not mass marketing. So you can say things like, you've been here the longest, so you're getting first looked. We referenced that one earlier. But you want your copywriting to imply value and scarcity and that the person reading your message is special. It is that little tiny change and approach that is going to put your DMs above 90% of other adult creators on any adult platform. And this is true. And I'm sure you see it because you probably get mass messages on OnlyFans specifically from other adult creators. And you probably don't read them, and you probably mute them. And if you went back in any of those other creator messages, you would feel like it's a mass message. So you need to make these adjustments to set yourself apart, and it will set you apart. This is the part where I mention using AI to speed up the copywriting process. So this is the shameless plug, all right, guys? So bear with me, but this is important. Here's the truth, right? So seductive copywriting is a skill, like it's a proper skill. And everything we've discussed so far in today's episode should be exactly what you need to just begin understanding the skill and mastering the skill of copywriting. Still, writing like this every day can be exhausting, right? Thinking all of these things through, it takes thought and time and intention, and I get it. And that's why most adult creators skip over this thing that can actually help you convert better your words. So this is literally why I started GPTEASE AI and why I built this tool, right? Because I started because, to be honest, I'm a fantastic copywriter. Like, in fact, this is something that I have dedicated a lot of time studying and learning and working on and sharpening as a skill set, because this has been something that I've seen have a remarkable ROI in not just my adult business, but my other businesses as well. And not everyone is going to do that or even realizes how important this skill is. And the fact is, and I'm hesitant to say this out loud because it makes one of my very hard-earned skills very almost useless. But the fact is, with AI, there's a lot less reason for good copywriters like myself to need to have or develop the skill. It's sad, but this is the world we live in. You know, I'm going to roll with the times. But I took the time to build and train GPTEASE AI to help you guys with this because I wanted it as a tool for myself. Something to, script my explicit videos in my own words, to write my PPV captions on my posts that sound like me specifically and actually convert. To help me reply to fans in a playful way that I haven't said 10,000 times in the 10 years that they've been following me or with me across my platforms. Because it's so easy for adult creators to just fall into repetition. Like, we all know we're doing that, right? But keeping things exciting and fresh, this is how you keep fans that you worked really hard to get, by the way, to stay subscribed to you for longer and spend on you for more. So here's the hack, right? You could spend 5 to 10 hours a week scripting your explicit content out before you film, or you could leverage this AI tool built specifically for adult creators to help do it for you in your own brand voice, right? The same goes for captions on your social, on your fan sites, and they would be SEO optimized, which is going to increase your traffic to your clip stores, to your sites, because typically when we copyright on our own, the writing and the words we choose is not SEO optimized. Using an AI tool can incorporate both of those things and just so much more. So you can do it in seconds. You guys know this if you've been with me, if you follow our stuff. And then you can just get back to doing the one thing that you can do that no one else can do, which is obviously being in front of the camera. And I want to also bring this to your attention and make sure everyone knows, but your GPT's account is compartmentalized to you, right? So when you personalize it with your specific settings, your writing samples, the niches and genres of content you create, it's adapting that to you specifically and only for your GPT's account. So other creators using GPTs aren't getting the same results you are. This tool is a specific extension of you. It's not a replacement for you or what makes your brand unique. And I want to make sure that you know this because all other AI products out there aren't not safeguarding you in this way. And I think it's important to know the distinction. Now, don't get me wrong. I also want to mention I still use my brain. I still use GPTs, of course, to save time, spark ideas, and keep my content fresh and on brand and exciting and all the rest, because it gives me so many hours a week back, which I can use to then make more money. So if you're tired just of staring at a blank box, wondering what to write, this is your new best friend, guys. If you're wondering if a better caption or script or DM reply could be making you more money, I will tell you, yes, I can. I have the data and stats to prove it. Like GPTs, it is completely free to use at its most basic level. But if you're curious about even the $20 pro tier account or the $50 power tier account and wondering if it's going to give you a net positive ROI, yes, and it'll probably do it in one day of having access. So the real thing to ask yourself, I think, is how much money you could be making with the other 29 days of your subscription to GPTEASE AI. Anyway, use it or not, the important thing is now you know the tool exists and you also know that the skill is important and you know how to start using the skill and implementing it across your platforms, across your socials, and all of the rest. So regardless, here is what I want you to do this week. Are you ready? Okay. So I want you to go to your last 5 posts and I want you to read your captions. I want you to ask yourself, did I hook? Did I touch emotion? Did I lead them to action? Yes or no? Did I hook? Did I touch emotion? Did I lead them to action? Then the second thing I want you to do is pick one platform, if that's your OnlyFans or Sex Panther, your Fun Show, whatever, your choice. Pick one platform and then use the 3-step framework on your next 3 either feed posts or PPV captions. So use a hook, use an emotion, use an action, call to action. And then I want you to track what happens. In your next DM promo or PPV message, I want you to add one line that makes it feel personal to that specific fan you are talking to. Check what you have in their notes or read back through your previous conversations, but try something like, I wasn't sure I should even send you this, but because you bought XYZ in the past, I knew how much you'd appreciate it. One, that leads them with the identity that they've bought in the past. And also you knew they'd appreciate it because you know what they like, right? So small changes equal big revenue. So these are your tasks. Go to your last 5 posts, read the captions. Did you hook, touch emotion, lead them to action? Pick one platform, your choice, and then use the 3-step framework on your next 3 feed posts. Hook, emotion, action. See what happens. And then in your PPV message, add a line that makes it feel personal and specific to the fan you are talking to. Now, here is kind of what I want you to remember, right? The takeaways. Seduction doesn't only live in your body. It lives in the experience that you create for your fans, for your customers, for your subscribers, for your followers. So when you speak with confidence and when you write with intention, your captions make people feel something. You stop just being another creator and you actually start standing out, right? You become unforgettable. And the best part is that you don't need to be the loudest. You don't need to be the boldest. You don't need to be the most explicit. You just need to write like you know what they want, because you do. You do know what they want. You probably just haven't taken a ton of time to think about it. So for the next, 7 days, apply these small changes, test and track how much your good copywriting impacts your bottom line, because spoiler alert, it will. And I want you to take that education and then roll it out across everything you do in the future. Test and track it first. Go and prove it for yourself. I know that this works because it's one of the most powerful things I do in my business that makes me the kind of revenue I make. So now I want you to go and write something that they won't scroll past. I want you to go and send a DM that makes someone pause and makes someone pay. This is the art of seductive copy. And now you have the tools to master it. If this episode lit any fire under you today, please do me a favor. I want you to share it with another adult creator who might need to hear this information. I want you to help them level up. I want you to help them sell better, and also just help the industry as a whole, because the more successful all of us are as adult creators, the bigger and better the things we can do together. That is what SWCEO is all about after all. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thank you, guys.
It would be absolutely incredible if you rated this podcast 5 stars and left a little review. We want to get this podcast to as many adult creators as possible, and you taking a second to leave a couple stars and a review really helps us do that. Thanks so much.